Welcome to Goldenrod Live. This is our first episode, and I'm your host, Josh Ketchum, and to my all the way across the country is.
I'm EzloSpirit.
I am the owner of the place that you're on right now, and that's pretty much it for me, I guess. I don't do much.
Okay.
I'm lazy.
Well, I do a lot of things. I write stories and stuff, and because of that, I am a forum moderator on the Zelda Universe forums. I'm also a gamer, and I do podcasts too. I contribute to the Zelda Universe podcast, and I also last year sort of started my own called the Pokemon Center podcast for 2 episodes before it fell apart. But
I enjoyed those 2 episodes.
yes, actually, they're pretty good if I do say so myself. But I'd like to start that up again in the future when I get more time.
Well, if you're ready, then what we're going to be talking about today is ingenuity in gaming, or who was the key innovator throughout gaming's history. Most people would probably say it's Nintendo, but there's some discrepancies in that.
Yeah.
I guess let's start off. Why would you call Nintendo an innovator in gaming?
They always seem to be helming the like all the new stuff, basically. They're very revolutionary, I think, in their products. Like they stay still. They pioneered the 3D gaming market, both in terms of like polygons and pop out at you 3D. They pioneered motion control. I don't think they were the first 16-bit system, but
And that would be either the Sega Genesis
yeah.
or the TurboGrafx 16.
Yeah, I don't know which one of them it was, but I don't think Nintendo was there first.
Yeah, definitely not. See, the thing for me is that if you bring up something that Nintendo's done, then there's always someone who seems to have done it first. Not all the time, especially not in motion gaming. But it seems like, they were never ahead in the bit systems. There was always someone who did it first. And I think that made them the most innovative that everybody thinks is their gameplay.
True. Although, I mean, I think in terms of hardware and stuff like that, and the technology, there are a lot of things they don't do first.
Right.
But it's that they make it available to a wider gaming market than anybody else, and they also do it right, quote unquote.
Right.
And I think 64. I think they did make this first 64-bit system.
That would be the Atari Jaguar that actually
really?
did. Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I didn't know until Angry Video Game Nerd. I learned that there, but yeah, I guess, like you were talking about, like, made it for everyone. I felt that way maybe the first week of getting all my game systems, and after that, no one else wants to play. Like, maybe like the Wii, I played with my family for 1 week, and then they kind of don't want to have anything to do with it.
The Wii was a different story.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, definitely the 3D. They led the way, but of course, the Virtual Stuntmaster, I think, Sega Genesis. It wasn't 3D, but it was trying to be like before the Virtual Boy, which all of them failed. Even the 3DS for the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 months failed.
Yeah, I think that was a matter of pricing as well.
Pricing and poor games to start off the system.
True. They didn't have enough launch titles.
Yeah, they didn't really start
or decent launch titles,
right.
even.
they didn't really start getting their sales up until they released Ocarina of Time in
Right.
3D.
Exactly.
And even then, it wasn't the best.
Now, most people that I've seen who have a DS, it's a 3DS.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, like going back to the bits, Nintendo didn't pioneer the way for 8-bit, 16-bit, 64, 120, whatever. It always seemed like someone, I guess it would be 128. But even like Sega was always one step ahead of them. Just Sega could not produce the games that Nintendo could. They didn't have the lovable characters, maybe besides Sonic the
Sonic.
Hedgehog, right? I like him more than Mario, but
Sonic's
that's
awesome.
yeah. I don't know. I think it's just a faster gameplay on Sonic that, even though Mario Galaxy is like one of my favorite games, getting off
I
topic.
think Mario does better in the quote-unquote 3D
Right,
than
definitely. Than Sonic does.
except for Sonic Adventure 2, which was one of the greatest things ever to happen to gaming. But
Yeah. I guess yeah. You could say that. I enjoyed Generations.
I haven't played that, so I mean I'm interested in getting that for the
Right.
3DS, but I haven't played it yet, so I can't really say anything to that one.
I've always thought that Sonic's done better on the home consoles than, but that's just a matter of opinion.
Sonic doesn't have that many portable games.
I guess so. I guess if you count like Sonic for the Game Boy and Sonic DS, they're all failures. Everybody doesn't. I mean, they're kind of.
Right. They're often
Mario,
overlooked,
yeah,
too.
Mario's made jumps on every system and jumps well.
Right.
Sonic just not done that.
Well, that's also because they try and bring out Mario's Nintendo's, I think, their flagship
Yeah.
franchise, and so they use Mario to demonstrate the abilities of a new system all
Right.
the time.
Right.
Usually, either that or Zelda. Usually,
Right.
and they go all out with some of their Mario games, especially the first ones on a console.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess. What other innovative things are there in video games? What do you look for in a video game? Would be basically the question. What pulls you in? Because if you've ever seen like Atari, like you said you hadn't, but Atari Jaguar footage, bits mattered before that, but then after that it was like, oh, 64 bits, oh, didn't look very good. And Nintendo never made awful jumps into the CD systems, which Sony and Sega. Well, Sega did worse at first, but Sony made good jumps, and the TurboGrafx 16 also did. Just it always seems that Nintendo, that's how they recover with their games. It's even though some of their technology may be good, what recovers them is their Zelda, their Kirby, their Mario, in Pokemon, I guess, too.
Well, I mean, Nintendo, more than any other first-party system console developer, like Microsoft, Sony, those people, they have their series.
Right.
That's how they're able to make something like Super Smash Brothers, with a whole bunch of first and second party characters, and until Brawl, no third party characters whatsoever.
Right.
I think. But I mean, Sega has Sonic and maybe a couple others that I can't think of.
Well, I guess at first they had Altered Beast and was it Alex Kidd? But those never. I mean, after Sonic came along, right? Maybe at first it was okay, but after Sonic came along, they were gone pretty much.
Right.
Yeah,
and never. I mean, I think all of those Well, what genre is Altered Beast? Is that an RPG?
Fighting.
Oh, right. I know.
I think I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I think Alex Kidd was a platformer, correct?
Right. Like
And that
Kid Icarus type.
with Nintendo's series, each of their characters comes from usually a different genre, like Zelda's adventure and Mario's platformer. Kirby's also a platformer, but they're slightly different from each other. And Metroid's also was originally a platformer, but
Right.
that was very different.
Right.
I think it's the differences, and that's why Sega never really had that many characters.
Right.
That were
they made too much of the same.
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't ingenuity. It was, like they had beasts that were altered. They were just pretty much animals that were like more of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle type with different animals.
Right. They didn't even make characters that.
Yeah. Too many humans would also be a good. Everybody loves aliens and all that stuff. So a lot of those games do well, but when you try to bring humans into video gaming, it doesn't do as well. I guess Mario doesn't count.
He's not human.
No, technically none of them are human, but
I think he is. That was kind of.
Yeah.
Although Nintendo might just not be telling us something. So. Yeah. But in terms of, I don't know what I was about to say. But
well, if I now let's look at the consoles that are right now. Sony has no creativity whatsoever. They steal everything.
Hey, look, we have this thing called the PlayStation Move, aka the Wii Remote 2.0. Or 1.5 more like.
Yeah. And yeah, it's not even a 2.0. It doesn't deserve that. It's like they.
Although, I mean, I think that was released before the Wii Motion Plus in Act 4. And I don't know what the huge deal about it is, but chances are it'll be more accurate than previous camera.
Nope, not really. There's still tons and tons of complaints.
I mean, I hear good things about it, but I mean, it was released and then it sort of fell off the radar.
Like this was like it was as revolutionary as the Wii, and then they kind of just let it go a little bit.
I mean, I don't think it was that revolutionary. I mean, PlayStation, Sony already did something like that. It was awful. I don't remember what it was called.
Wasn't the little eye camera? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's PlayStation Eye or something.
But you still had to have the Move. You still had to have those things. The little Wii 1.5. You still had to have them.
For the PS3. I think, didn't that come afterwards?
Yeah, but
after the Kinect. But I think, or maybe not Sony. I think there's something that the iToy existed early 2000s. I think.
What's the iToy? I've never heard of that.
It wasn't by like a major developer or anything. I don't think.
Right.
But it was just an experimental thing that didn't work very well. It was a good concept.
Right. Again,
I'm sure the Kinect was better than that.
Right.
And if it hadn't been, major third-party developers wouldn't have done anything with it.
Yeah, well, one of the things is you have so many opportunities with the Kinect. Especially Mass Effect 3 came out, and a Star Wars game for the Kinect has so many options, and still, it's not what it should be.
I mean, they really need to wait for it.
Virtual. I'm ready for virtual already.
Yeah, we'll probably get that in about 25 years or so.
Yeah.
But it'll happen.
I'm
interested in seeing how that fails at first.
Yeah.
Because there's always some innovative thing like iToy. That was a great idea, but is horrible.
And then people get to work on it and then make it better. You repeat it, and then every time it gets better.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this before. If you didn't see my like smile, but I was thinking about how Nintendo might do so well, and I love Nintendo with all my heart, and I don't mean this as like anything against them, but maybe the reason they do so well, and because this came up because you were saying that they aren't doing things that people haven't done before. Maybe they're seeing other people's mistakes and then
Right.
fixing them.
Right. That pretty much sums it up. But I don't like that kind of attitude in gaming. Or I'd rather you try and fail than copy.
Exactly.
And Nintendo does not want to fail. They're already still clinging on to the game market with all these first-person shooter fans going over to PlayStation and Microsoft. That they don't want to make a mistake.
Right, and that was all point. That was all problem with the Wii.
Yeah.
Uh,
Again, you had so many opportunities with the Wii to make first-person shooters great, and they still were bad.
well, if you had the Zapper, yeah.
Right.
But the cheap piece of plastic that they charged you like $20, although it came with the game, so that kind of makes sense.
Crossbow training?
Yep.
Yeah, that's fun.
I haven't even tried it.
Really?
I didn't get the Zapper. I don't play first-person shooters or anything.
Yeah, I didn't play them either. I got it for Christmas
except for
present.
Metroid Prime 3. But, yeah. I don't know. I wasn't going to pay that much money for
Right.
a piece of plastic that was shaped to make shooting more...
I think I have good enough aim where I could hold the two things and still be on target. Let's see here. Innovative controls. I think, yeah, they're top notch on that. Meaning,
Nintendo,
yeah.
always. They innovated the controller.
Right.
They innovate every controller. With, I mean, actually, the key things about the most recent systems, at least, and maybe even the NES, was the controller.
Right. It was easy. Anybody could pick it up and play it.
Exactly.
Maybe not pick up and play every game, but, Mario. Not Zelda. Definitely not Zelda. You couldn't pick it up and start. Or you could pick it up and start because all you had to do was go into the cave in the first one, but after that, you were pretty much dead if you didn't know what you're doing.
That's true, and I usually don't know what I'm doing in that first game, but, yeah, and then they innovated the Wii Remote, the motion controller that heavily inspired way too much the PlayStation Move. And then there's the Wii U gamepad. It's
right.
Pretty revolutionary.
That's what I was going to get to next, but you've started it, so now we got to keep rolling on it. There's no release date on the Wii U yet, but
this year. That's all they're saying.
Yeah, that's all they're saying.
You can tell because they stopped making first-party games for the Wii already, and it's starting to die down in general.
Was it Mario Party 9?
Was
the last one? Right.
And then Skyward Sword was the second to last.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Or no, you're right. Yeah. Let's see. No one else has announced anything new besides Nintendo, and I find that very odd because I don't think anybody else is going to copy Nintendo yet. But I still find it odd that they're not going to want to announce their new system.
Well, Sony released one. I don't know. I think that may have been this year, or maybe late last year. The PlayStation Portable Vita or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a new system, but that's
true.
not like a console.
Microsoft, especially, I'm really surprised on them. But I don't know.
I don't know if they want to yet.
Yeah, probably not.
I
They
mean,
want to see how the Wii U does before doing something similar.
yeah, I don't think they feel threatened. I think is
No.
the problem. That's a problem.
As long as they keep
They need to
pushing
fix it.
as long as they keep pushing Halo and Black Ops or Call of Duty or whatever,
Yeah,
then they're
all
fine.
the games that need to stop.
Right.
Yeah.
Nintendo is also famous for innovative pricing, meaning they weren't money hoggers all the time.
Right, but
maybe sometimes, but definitely not all the time. Most companies, when they have lower prices, it's just because they're losing to other companies. Nintendo just did it
which is why they
graciously.
lowered the 3DS price.
Right, definitely. Yeah,
But
that was gone.
they're really good with their pricing, I think. Yeah, they always have the cheapest first party stuff,
Right.
and that's regardless of how advanced it is compared to other systems as well. I think.
You
I
look
mean,
like a pilot with your headphones on.
yes, these are crazy headphones.
Yeah.
But,
Let's see here. Nintendo, I find this odd, seeing how the PlayStation 2 I would say, kind of beats the GameCube at certain points in time, but the Nintendo not having DVD accessibility on their systems. I find that very odd.
that's not a well. Sony also makes DVD players.
Yeah, that's
Nintendo's
true.
not a movie company.
Right.
They don't make hardware for
Well, you could
watching
play
films.
Microsoft. You could on the Xbox. You could watch DVDs, but I guess Microsoft makes
They make computers.
computers which already have DVD functionalities. But still, Nintendo could do it if they really, really wanted to.
And I don't remember if can you do that on
What?
the Wii U? Did they mention that?
So far, they've
It's in-
mentioned a lot of those like Netflix, Hulu Plus type
Oh.
things, but they hadn't mentioned anything about DVD functionality. I wish, and that'd be great.
I mean, I don't have a point. I don't see a point to it. I mean, unless you don't have a DVD player or a computer.
Well, I think it would take away some of the spotlight from Sony because that was one of their biggest pushes of the PlayStation 2. It plays your movies.
Yeah, well, Nintendo is not evil.
Right.
Or at least they are very subtly evil. They're not
Yeah.
that obvious. They're not going to blatantly do something to spite its competitors,
Right.
usually.
Yeah, usually. Is there anything else you have to say, go over?
In terms of what?
Whatever you want to talk about. I don't care.
Well, what about the most innovative company ever in terms of video gaming? That's debatable, but they were innovative first. They established a gaming industry, essentially. And you mentioned them before, which would be Atari.
Atari, definitely. Now, that's why. How do I put this? Atari turned 40 this year. That's a long time. Let's see. Their controls, I guess, were innovative. I mean, a joystick and one button. I guess that's innovative enough to play some of the game. I guess that's pretty innovative to play games.
Well, granted, there were arcade games before that,
Right.
around that time, sort of. Ish.
But Atari, the company, was founded in 72. Yeah, that was it. 72.
That's right. Yeah. But I mean, they brought video games home.
Right. From the arcade.
Some of their titles were very, I guess, innovative, but major and like.
Space Invaders. Space Invaders.
Wow. That's not the one I was expecting to come out of your mouth. But yeah, that one was a pretty big deal. And also the even more obvious one of
Pac-Man. Not for the Atari. Pac-Man for the arcade. But Atari. I mean, what are you thinking of?
Pong?
Well, I already mentioned Pong.
You did?
Yeah, 40-year anniversary of Pong.
Oh, okay. I'm deaf.
But I know, yeah, it's all right. But yeah, Pong brought us video games basically. Even though maybe they weren't the one that got maybe everybody into video games, but still, you could play video games.
Well, you could play video games if you went to an arcade, and then suddenly Pong came out, and then you could play them at home.
Oh, home, yeah, definitely.
Without leaving your house. And that was, I think, the really big deal.
The big push that Atari made was that they could play your arcade favorites sitting right in front of your television. And that they pushed that for the Atari's whole lifespan, even their later consoles.
And Nintendo did a lot of that, although they didn't make the game first, except for Donkey Kong and Mario Brothers.
What year was Donkey Kong?
81 or 82?
81 or 82, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that game's old. But
before we go or get to another topic, Nintendo, they started as a card company and then went into toys and then went into basic arcade electronics and then finally made the jump to video games. That's a long time.
Oh, yeah, they were founded, I think, in the 1800s.
So, yeah, Nintendo, they jumped on the bandwagon a lot. The toys, and then when arcades were starting out, they wanted to make, do you remember the game Gumshoe?
That sounds familiar.
For the NES? You ever heard of that one?
Gumshoe? Wait. I mean, it sounds familiar.
It's all right. And I think I've got the wrong game, but they started with the real, like, you'd play movies, and then you'd have basically a light gun, and then you would shoot it whenever it told you to shoot, and then they incorporated that into some of the NES games, like Gumshoe and Hogan's Alley. Yeah, I think that's it. And next, I guess we're not leaving yet, but Sega, they were always ahead. They first in 16-bit. I don't know if the TurboGrafx 16 came out before. The Master System. Do you remember the Master System?
That came out after the Genesis. That was their cheaper option, and that was an 8-bit system.
Right, okay, yeah. But I thought the Master System came out before the Genesis.
Did it?
I think so, but yeah, it was a cheap 8-bit system. I've never even seen a Master System in person.
I saw one when I went to the Art of Video Games exhibit at the Smithsonian Museum of Art or something like that. Portrait, something. But, yeah.
I want to go. I wanted to go. Meeting.
That's in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I'm halfway across the country from there, so...
And I'm like 3 hours.
Really? Yeah, that one. So yes, Sega. Then they made the CD system, and then oh gosh, no, well, that was awful. The 32X, you remember the 32X? Awful, but still innovative. 32-bit system. Then they never made it the Sega Saturn. If we want to, Sega Saturn.
Yeah, my brother had one of those. It broke after like 2 weeks.
You got a Sega Saturn?
My brother did.
Oh.
And then it broke after a couple weeks, or a month or so.
That's one of those things that you probably want to get from, if you get a Sega Saturn, you want to import a lot of games, because the Americans got the short end of the stick like always. But, I guess, and then the Dreamcast was ahead of its time also. Just bad marketing is probably what Sega always lost. They rushed things to try to keep up, which is a good thing to try to keep up, but rushing things Sega Saturn, Sega Dreamcast, cut their throats. Well, yeah, yeah. They had a lot of bad advertisements.
And I haven't even seen any of them, and I probably don't
Oh
want to.
yeah.
All the video gaming advertisements
Blast processing.
before were obnoxious.
You ever heard of the blast processing? One of the things they pushed on the Genesis. Well, if you've ever seen any of the commercials, they say that they push Genesis does what Nintendo don't. They say they have a better processor, and then they have blast processing. And to this day, no one has figured out what blast processing is. Like, there is no such thing. They just a lie, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Well, be like from the 80s to whatever year the Jaguar came out, be like, Dad, I want a Super Nintendo for Christmas. Don't you already have a regular Nintendo? Yeah, but this one's 16-bit. What's a bit? There's 16 of them, though. I don't even know what a bit is.
It's true. I didn't
yeah, but no.
Until like last
Yeah.
year. But, yeah.
Nintendo was never good at naming things. Super Nintendo, which everybody calls it the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo. Then they named it the Nintendo 64, 64 bits. I guess the GameCube was probably their most innovative, and it was a box system. So I guess the Wii would be their most innovative name.
The Wii is like the worst name ever. When they announced that the new system was not going to be called one of the coolest names they could ever have thought of, which was the Nintendo. It was originally supposed to be called the Nintendo Revolution. And then they changed it to the Nintendo, and this is what my brother and I first thought it, or not actually, but that's what we said, because it was funny. My brother and I are funny. We said, it's going to be called the Nintendo Wii.
I never knew about the Revolution. I had never heard of that, and I've never seen that anywhere. When did they say that? Like when they first started? Was that at E3? It couldn't have been. They wouldn't have come out and called it like that and then changed it. That would have been earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
That would have been. I think that was the prototype name. Just like the Wii U was Project Cafe, wherever that.
Yeah,
came
Project
from.
Cafe. That's crazy. Cafe. I don't even get it.
We all knew that wasn't going to be the official.
Right.
That's also what's the word project.
That would have been a funny trick that Nintendo could have pulled. Project Cafe. Better than Wii. Better than Wii U.
Yeah, I actually don't know which name would be better.
I don't want either of them.
Yeah, that's probably true too. And Nintendo Gamepad is a cooler name than the Wii Remote, though. But that's just me.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for today. Unless there's anything else you want to add.
Can't think of anything.
Well, thanks for watching. See ya. Bye.
That's what you call a wrap up.
Next time on. I have no idea. I don't plan ahead. I'm like, all right, let's do it right now.
We have to say goodbye and repeat who we are in case people have forgotten, which is quite possible.
All right. Well, I'm Josh Ketchum.
And I'm EzloSpirit.
And you were watching Goldenrod Live. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.